Welcome to another episode of the Knock On Podcast, brought to you by the good people of Zero Tackle. Dan, it's been a week of rugby league. It was a night of rugby league last night. What's been happening?
Certainly was. We're just going to get straight into it. Jack Wighton, I'm going to let you go first because you got much harsher thoughts on this than I do. It's been suspended. They upheld the suspension, rather. 3 games has turned into 4. That's the rule, the risk you run, rather.
Mm-hmm.
Just before I throw to you, I think South had to challenge this because 3 games, 4 games, who cares? They need him out there this weekend. What'd you make of the verdict, the sin bin, the suspension? Just give me all your thoughts.
Well, I think the verdict on the suspension is consistent in what we've seen in the last couple of years. Obviously, going back to the Dolphins one, we also had Scott Sorensen as well. I think the difference between theirs and Jack Wighton's is Jack Wighton's first point of contact was definitely the shoulder, and his arms didn't wrap. However, they have upheld and maintained the same stance that they did with Sorensen and with Finucane, that it doesn't matter if he was stepping, it doesn't matter if he was slipping, it doesn't matter if you think it was a head clash, it's a duty of care. Now, obviously, I didn't watch the game live, so when I watched it the next day, I was like, oh, geez, that's a good shot. But then when you see the replay, you're like, that's actually a bad shot and he should probably go to the bin for this. And then Belinda Sharp sent him to the bin. But now Belinda Sharp has been criticised for sending him into the bin, but he's been suspended for 4 weeks. So I don't get it. Like, I know she had a poor game, but I actually thought she got that right and the judiciary backed her up.
Yeah, well, that's come from Klein because she blew time off straight away because Toby Rudolph was obviously very injured, and then it came down from the bunker. So I don't look. People are going to blame the referee because ultimately, what the bunker says is this is what I would do, and it's up to her, and she followed through. What do you make of South saying, "Oh, Toby Rudolph, was not responsible, but"? Like you said, he stepped, and I don't know what else they used. I thought they would say he slipped, which he clearly didn't on replay. But they offered that up as an excuse. I just felt like they played it wrong.
Well, I mean, the guy who they got to represent him, what's his name? Nick something?
Sure.
No good. Doesn't get anyone off. So if you go into the judiciary, don't use that guy.
Yeah.
The thing that, like, again, they tried to use the whole Toby Rudolph was stepping, Toby Rudolph was slipping, Toby Rudolph was falling. At the time Jack White went to hit him, Toby Rudolph's body had lowered. And again, the tribunal was very consistent in their response. Yeah, but that's not Toby's fault.
Yeah.
The onus is on Jack Wighton. If he's falling, you're falling. You can't. The problem with these shoulder charges and the high tackles where people go to the judiciary and say, well, they're slipping. Yeah, they're slipping and you didn't readjust your body.
Yeah.
So of course you've whacked him high. If you go down with him, you're not going to hit him as hard, or you're not going to hit him as high. And Jack White didn't even try and wrap his arms around him. He just wanted to put a big shot on for his team to try and wrestle momentum back. And unfortunately, he didn't get away with it.
No, if he didn't hit him high, he probably still gets penalised. But
yeah, he definitely gets penalised.
That comes into it, but that can change a game. I have no problem with the tackle itself. Look, the outcome was terrible, and Toby's, obviously Cat 1 concussed, missing a week, etc. I got to admit, at first when I watched it, I thought it was a genuine head clash. They did show later, after it all sort of calmed down, that there was some contact with the shoulder, and as soon as that happens, you're gone. But my argument is, it doesn't matter because we've seen Dale Finucane run out of the line, head clash, suspended. We saw one of the May brothers run out and get sin bin and suspended. Sorensen, as you meant earlier, it's becoming any contact to the head is, chargeable and suspendable unless it's a knee last week with Nafaro White or whoever it was. That's the issue I have with this. Why was that any different? The only difference is Toby Rudolph didn't get back up.
And the only difference is Toby Rudolph had the ball as well. That's what you have to have. But that was what I said to. I was talking to someone online and they said, it's a high shot, and he said it's not a high shot because he didn't hit him with his arms. And I said, well, 1, it's a head clash, so that's high because it's contact with the head, and 2, then his shoulder gets him. He said, yeah, but his arms didn't hit him in the head, so it's not a head high tackle. I said, you're not making any sense here because he's been hit in the head. And he said, yeah, but not with his arms. I was like, all right, well, that's me done with you.
It doesn't matter anymore. It's any high contact. But again, I go back to last week. Why wasn't there a charge there and this was accidental contact. I have no doubt. He didn't run out knee on to headbutt him. This wasn't an attack from Wighton. It was a tackle gone wrong. So was White. We've seen 5 or 6 times. That's why people get frustrated. And the fact that South are down the bottom of the ladder and they have lost a player, Dalian Mellor. No, his form's not great, but it's a player they can use for a long time. I can understand why South fans are rightly upset. But I could talk all night. Let's talk some positivity. Dane Gagai, who just on Monday I said, well, if Newcastle don't hurry up and re-sign him, there's going to be a premiership contender that can plug and play him for a year. Newcastle have come out and re-signed him, and the fans are almost universally happy. His age is obviously there are players younger coming through, but we saw last weekend in Canberra, they got whacked and Gagai was their best player by a long, long way. I don't think they had a choice here, especially given the sustainability of Kalen Ponga, who seems to miss as many games as he plays. You got Dylan Brown coming. I think he's going to look better with Gagai and Best either side of him. I think this is a great pickup, and I think Gagai had to stay for another year at least.
Yeah, I didn't understand this part of Newcastle withholding the negotiations with Dane Gagai on the basis of his age, because you take his age out of it. If you watch Dane Gagai play, he looks like, he looks like he can go and play State of Origin.
Yeah, 28, really.
His body's still in good nick. Yeah, he misses games here and there. As you get older, that's what happens. He gets a muscle twinge or doesn't recover quite in time, or, these things happen with the older players. But he's, Dylan Lucas, I thought was Newcastle's best this year, but he hasn't, he's missed games. Fletcher Sharp looked really good, and then you take them two out, it's probably been Dane Gagai. You had to re-sign him.
Yeah, I know, don't get me wrong, if Newcastle aren't going to win the premiership next year, or they shouldn't, I won't say they won't, because every time I pick someone to come last, they make a prelim. But they need a player like him next year, because their New South Wales Cup team is very poor. Their flag team's not so great, and it's been that way for a while. Players are coming through, like your Fletcher Sharps, and I would argue Fletcher Hunt has been pretty darn good too. Not quite at the same level, but
Max McCarthy,
there are heaps of players there.
Thomas
But
Kahn.
you can't throw them all in at once. I know I call for it a bit at Cronulla, but we've got a lot of players around them you can plug and play. I think signing Gagai I was surprised it lasted so long. The 1 year deal I love, because he can go to Perth, he can go to the Super League, he can go to, say, Penrith if they lose McLean or Alamotti or something, and go, we're one centre away from yet another premiership. We could be talking 6 in a row. Let's get him in. If Ramian wasn't there, Cronulla, an Origin centre, South can bring him back. He's got a market. I'm glad to see Newcastle got the job done. I do go in on them a little bit, mainly because their fans are like, Cronulla play boring football. I was like, you guys are the worst team in the competition to watch. But I'm genuinely happy for them, and I want them to go well.
Yeah, I like the re-signing. I mean, I know he started at Brisbane and he had a run at South, but when I think Dane Gagai, I think Newcastle.
Yep, absolutely agreed. But we'll go to the big one on the weekend, mate. This is going to be a lot of fun. The Tigers and the Bulldogs out at CommBank Stadium. Earlier yesterday, by the time it's dropped, I tweeted out, because there's been a lot of Tigers fans saying, let's get out there, let's boo Galvin, let's put him off the game. A lot of it is in jest, but there is a degree of let's get him after he hurt our feelings, and I get it. We did the same with Blake Ferguson at Cronulla for 2 or 3 years. It's fun to boo, just don't cross the line, blah, blah, blah. I want to put this out there, though. I wouldn't be stirring Bulldogs fans up right now. They're getting out there in huge numbers, and I know it's a Tigers home game, but it's a neutral venue, and they don't have 20,000 members. If they stir Dogs fans up, we may see more Dogs fans turn up and boo the Tigers in retaliation. How do you see this game going? Obviously, the talking point's going to be Lachlan Galvin.
Look, I think Lachlan Galvin, the best thing about it, the best thing that I have loved about the Dogs and Lachlan Galvin so far this week is that he said nothing. The Bulldogs have said nothing about it. All the talk is coming from the Tigers. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Jerome Luai was in front of the cameras, just saying that he's going to stay for life, and now saying no ill feelings towards Lachlan Galvin. I wanted to make him a better player. We've heard nothing from the Dogs about it. We know he's going to start. We know he's going to play halfback. We know the Tigers fans are going to want to throw vitriol at him. I think the Tigers are now kicking themselves that this isn't one of the games they selected to go to Leichhardt, because those tickets quickly getting snapped up. There's a lot of Dogs fans. You see it online on Twitter. They've bought bulk tickets of their family and their members, and they're near the Bulldogs army, and they're talking about going and getting the drums and everything. And it wouldn't surprise me if this sounds like a Bulldogs home game.
It's going to be fun. I think financially, moving it to CommBank is going to pay huge dividends. I think this will be as close to a sellout, and you don't say that much other than the special games. I'm not having a go at anyone. It's just the facts.
Yeah.
I'm so glad it's at CommBank. I love Leichhardt Oval in terms of watching on TV. I hate going there. It's horrible. Come at me, Tigers fans. But this is going to be so much fun. And I love the chaos of this. And I agree with you 100%. The Bulldogs have said nothing.
Yeah.
Cameron Serrato, I haven't seen Cameron Serrato in the news. Stephen Crichton's way too smart to get dragged into this. You know, maybe they're going to go to a Kiraz and try and get in there, and you'll be like, yeah, I'm playing fullback this weekend. I think Phil Gould sat them all down and said, you know it's coming. Don't fall for it. Go out there and play as best you can, and you'll flog the Tigers. We can talk after if we have to. I think they played absolutely perfect. I can't wait for this
Yeah.
day. I captain Lachlan Galvin in Supercoach. I think he's going to score a hattie, and I think he's just going to get up, and it's going to be a wonderful afternoon of rugby league chaos.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a game. You know, I think he's going to have a really good game this weekend. I'm looking forward to it.
I agree, mate. And if he plays well enough, he might just find himself in a chat at the end of the year, because we've got an Ashes tour coming up. The Kangaroos are going to England, 3 games, October, November. 22-man squad. There's bound to be some bolters, Terry. Do you want to
In
throw
a
any ideas out
22-man
there?
squad, I don't think there will be.
You don't think there'll be 1 or 2? Keeping in
I think
mind,
there might be one.
do you want to throw that out there?
Blake Brayley.
I had him as number 1 on my list. I'll throw some names at you in a second, but it's also worth remembering that Hammer, Tino, and Payne Haas have all said that they may play for Samoa. Now, the England tour is prestigious, hasn't happened for 22 years or something. It should be the pinnacle of international rugby league, other than the World Cup, of course. But back here, Brisbane are going to announce hosting Samoa Tonga, which will sell out in a heartbeat. And those 2 teams are the closest to, obviously, the big 3 to creating a major, major wave. I think if you said, "Oi, Payne, Tino, you don't have to go to England. You don't have to get on the flight. You don't have to go over there to the negative 10-degree weather. You get to stay here. You get to go to Brisbane and play in front of a sold-out Suncorp, Samoa versus Tonga." There's 3 players that might not be there. We know Crichton's playing for Samoa. We know that Brian To'o is playing. The names I threw up originally were Terrell May, who will play for Samoa, and Young Katoa, who will play for Tonga. These are the names I have. So Blake Brayley's number 1. Excuse if you can see the thing. This, full disclosure, will break tomorrow on Zero Tackle. I put Jacob Kiraz on there because of the players that are unavailable. You're going to need a winger to go beside Xavier Coates or Zach Lomax. So you need a third winger. I think Kiraz is there. And here's a player that I'm willing to put my name on the line now. Jacob Preston will be on that list.
I think he'll be talked about. I definitely think he'll be talked about, and he should be talked about. I think your starting back row, yeah, I could see it. I could see it in the world. It's gonna suck that if Tino, Haas, and Hammer do give up the Australian jumper to go and play for Samoa. But at the same time, it opens the doors for other players who want the Kangaroos jersey. I think Jacob Preston is a very, very good shout. I can't think of another second rower who probably deserves it as much as him. I think, your halves they're probably going to pick 3 halves: Munster, Dearden, and Cleary.
Moses?
I don't think Moses will get the spot. I think it's going to go to Dearden because he was the Origin winning halfback and he was the Wally Lewis medalist. I think you need 2 number 9s that they're going to go on that trip. So I think Blake Brayley's name will be right there.
Yeah. Now, I've got Matt Burton as my 14 because he can cover a whole lot of spots. But the other players
I've got Dearden as the 14 because he's played it before.
That makes sense. Just a few more names here. Bo Fermor may get a call up. I would go Preston. Robert Toya is the other one because there's a whole lot of centres that aren't available, and he did very well in Origin. I think the biggest bolter of all, though, will come from either Ethan Strange or Kyo Weeks. You take one kid who you know probably isn't going to play, and he goes there for the experience. Kyo Weeks is available for New Zealand and Australia. I think you got to take Kyo Weeks and say, you're in our plans. You want to play Origin? You got to go on this. Otherwise, the Kiwis are selecting him.
I thought I read somewhere that KO Weeks was going to be the fullback for Samoa.
Yep. Well, he's come out and said he wants to play for Australia and he wants to play Origin. I think Kevin Walters needs to get that done before the Kiwis get in his ear and say, well, so I think they'll pick.
Well, I mean, on form, if they're not picking Hammer at fullback, you got to pick KO Weeks.
Yeah.
Or Tedesco.
It's going to be fun, but check tomorrow. I'm going to drop a full article with all sorts of things. Check that out. But let's move on to some player movements, Terry. We had two. I'm going to bring up a few real quick. Philip Sami looks like he's not going to be at the Titans moving forward. It's pretty much he's going to Perth is the feeling. Ruben Garrick was the big one. Said that he's going to test the market. There's not much money there at Manly. Do you see him staying, or is he one Perth should go for, or where's he end up?
Well, I think he's definitely trying to find out how sweet that Perth money is, but there's a market for Ruben Garrick somewhere. So whether Manly have to stump up the money or whether he's going to go to Perth or he's going to, grab a centre spot instead of Sean Russell at Parramatta, I think there's a market there for him.
Yep, I think he'll be one snapped up very quickly. Sami too, he's good. The other one I wanted to talk about was Chevy Stewart. Now, I played a couple games, I think 2 or 3 games for Canberra. Not a bloke who will walk into many teams. I think the Dragons need to take a punt on this kid. He can play centre. He's played a bit of centre and I think wing for one game for the reserve grade team for Canberra who go quite well despite their current position. They made the prelim last year. I think he's the kind of kid that Cronulla or the Dragons need to say, okay, sit behind our number one and be ready to go. The other team I linked him to earlier yesterday was South Sydney because they need young bodies. They're running out of troops. They've got a pretty handy fullback, can't stay fit, and it looks like Jai Gray's going to get a spot elsewhere. I think there's a market for Chevy Stewart. He's only 20. I think he needs to sit behind Clint Gustin for a year, maybe 2, and take over that position in the Red V.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about it on Rugby League Outlaws, that he was linked with Cronulla, and actually the more I think about it, the more I think if we're not going to sign Will Kennedy, a Chevy Stewart, Liam Ison duel sounds pretty good, and you throw Taj Ford into there as well. But going there and sitting behind Clint Gutherson for a year is probably the best move for him.
Yeah, I think so. The other player that Canberra, young Trey Mooney, who I believe played junior Origin, big boy. It looks like they're going to re-sign Josh Papali'i, which is obviously the way to go, the way he's playing. He was tremendous in Origin too. Newcastle have been linked with him. I think he's the kind of player that probably 10 teams could use. The one I originally thought was straight away was Melbourne. They need a young prop because their bench this weekend, not so good.
Well, I think it was the off season that just went. Trey Mooney, there were, 2024, Cronulla were linked with Trey Mooney, and he stayed down in Canberra. And then this past preseason, it was rumoured that Penrith were looking at him and trying to get him to have an immediate release. Now they got what's his name, Leron Patua? Is that you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think that's the pronunciation, don't you?
Yeah. I think they don't need him now because of this kid, and they've got a prop in their New South Wales Cup team whose name is eluding me at the moment. They've also got Maverick Geyer, Liam Cole, Lindsay Smith. Oh, Liam Henry, sorry. Yeah, Liam Henry, Lindsay Smith. So I think they're pretty good in the prop front at the moment, but if Trey Mooney had gone to Penrith, I think you'd be talking about him as pretty scary prospect at the moment. Melbourne's a great shout for him. Another club that I think, could use a body like him is the North Queensland Cowboys. But yeah, I don't quite get, like, Canberra have held on to him. He's like, clubs have gone for Trey Mooney and Canberra have been like, nah. And now they're like, yeah, okay. It just doesn't make sense.
I feel like they thought Josh Papali'i was a spent force.
Yeah.
And he's proven that he's not. I think that's, without any proof, I think that's the
But you know what's going to happen? Next year, Josh Papali'i is going to be the spent force, and everyone's going to be going, shit, wish we had Trey Mooney.
Why didn't we get Trey Mooney? Look, I think there's a market here for him. I think these are the kind of players, I know not these two specifically because they'll be signed up by then, that Mal Meninga needs to be talking to come November 1st. Now, I did say earlier when I published it, I said they'll be linked to Perth because Chevy Stewart can sit and go, I got a contract. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Wait till November
Same
1
Jay
and see
Mooney.
what Perth. So that could happen. But if they were to release them early or let them speak to everyone, they can say you can speak to anyone other than Perth because Perth can't sign you next year and we want you off the books. So there's nothing of benefit for us. So I think these players might just hold on to that 1st of November because as soon as it hits 12:01, Mal Meninga is going to be on the phone going, oi, trying to finish a sentence, which is very difficult for my good mate now. These are the kinds of players they need to target, not the Jerome Hugheses as we discussed, but be plenty of fun Lincoln players there. But a team that you and I have taken to heart a little bit, the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy their brand of football. I think outside of Cronulla, they're the team I most enjoy, and Cronulla also the team that I least enjoy watching for obvious reasons.
Mhm.
I said on Rugby League Outlaws they're going to play finals. I want to go through their remaining draw. This is why they're going to play finals, Terry.
Mhm.
Warriors this weekend, 50-50 game. I think they'll win. The Roosters, who I think will lose this weekend to Manly, be gone. I think they beat the Roosters. The Broncos, that's the game. I'll give that one to Brisbane. They play Manly. Either way, 50-50. Then they got the Titans, and then they got the Raiders, who will have the minor premiership wrapped up, and they'll rest players. I see 4 wins there from 6. I don't see Manly matching that. The Roosters won't get near them. I think they're playing finals football.
I think they're playing finals football. That's not a doubt there. I just think it's going to be, it's going to be difficult for the teams 7, 8, 9, and 10 running in because, Cronulla have probably got the most favourable draw out of all of them. So it wouldn't surprise you if they lost 2.
Yeah.
And then Manly had the advantage over Cronulla on the points differential, but that got wiped out. Cronulla beating the Roosters and then the Roosters losing in the heartbreaking way that they did to Melbourne really helps Cronulla out in this way home. So, but yeah, looking at the ladder, Cronulla have a 2-point advantage over the Dolphins and Manly, and they got a 4-point gap to the Roosters. So you can almost say that if the Roosters lose one game, you can wipe them out. And then it's going to come down to the other 9. The other 9 teams and the 3 teams making up for the top 8.
9 into 8. It's going to be a fun run in. I hope the Dolphins make it. Put it this way. They're just playing a brand of football that's just so much fun. And I know brands of football aren't important. It's results that matter. But they're winning games. And I think they're 3 from 4, and the only one they lost was to Cronulla at home minus the hammer. So I think that run in, while it's not overly favourable, they are playing teams around them, and I think that's a huge advantage. Broncos could slip. They could finish top 4. The Roosters, the Warriors, Manly are all 4-pointers. They win 3 of those they'll smash the Titans and the Raiders. Who knows what they'll probably be New South Wales Cup. I just think it's time to party, and I like that it's a young coach that's bringing them through in their first finals. It's a real good feeling about them. So watch them lose 5 or 6 in a row now to make me look bad.
Yeah, look, I like the Dolphins. I really, really love the way the Dolphins play footy, and their points differential for being the 8th place team is awesome. But this is what I always say, you and I have said it now for the last couple of years on Rugby League Outlaws, and we say it on Fins Up as well, that the lead up to round 20 is exactly what it is, and then round 20 is the run home. We've got an exciting run home now.
Absolutely. It's going to be fun. But now, mate, to a story that I went way under the radar. I didn't even know about it until I went deep diving for something to talk about. The Dogs and the Dragons have come to an agreement or a potential agreement about a revenue share. They're playing in Vegas next year, and they're going to share the revenue from there, which I think's fair. That should be the way it is, let's be honest. But moving forward, they're going to split games. There's talk of moving the game to CommBank or Allianz to sort of meet in the middle. I think the Dragons are really smart here because the Bulldogs are going to go on a run in the next couple of years. Their fan base is notoriously big when they're winning. I want a rev share with the Bulldogs too.
Yeah, I think this is a great move by both parties because, regardless of how they're going, they have massive fan bases, right? And now you and I both know, as avid Cronulla fans, that when Cronulla are going well, more fans travel. when they're not going well, even our home games are hard to sell out, right? But with the Dogs, like you and I have been there when Cronulla have been 4th and the Dogs have been 14th and there's been 20,000 people there. It's the same as when you go to Leichhardt, or not Leichhardt, Cogra. I remember 2016, Cronulla are shooting out for the minor premiership. The Dragons are trying to get into the finals, and that place was packed. So this is a great move by them, especially like if you can turn around and say, get a primetime spot as well. If you were to say 4 o'clock on a Sunday arvo, Dogs and Dragons at Combank, Allianz, or what's the big stadium called? ANZ?
Oh, yep.
Yeah. The Corp, yeah. Mate, phenomenal move.
Yeah, this is genius, and it does mean that the games will be played at the big stadiums. You won't get the Cogra or Win games, which, you know, whilst well represented, the Dogs would rather be playing 2 games at Allianz or Combank rather than travelling to Wollongong and playing in front of, you know, 8,000 people on a cold Friday night. I think this is genius. I'm not shocked it hasn't happened because I don't think a lot of people think outside the box. I'm also not shocked that Phil Gould is involved in the first one that I know of. Correct me if I'm wrong. There might be a few of these. He's thinking outside the box, and I think he's seen a team who I think the Dragons are on the improve a little bit, not so much, but I think they've got a good couple of years coming compared to what they've just gone through. A couple of good signings, Yad Stewart and stuff. There's some excitement there. But 25,000 people on a Sunday afternoon, Rev Sharon, brilliant for both teams. Bravo to you both.
Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Knock On Podcast, brought to you by the good people at Zero Tackle, your one-stop shop for everything rugby league, news, transfers, gossip, player contracts, player movements, 20-to-1 lists, 5 landing destinations. Still missed your Origin recap where you praised the Maroons though, Dan. You might have to send me that link. What do you got come for us this week?
Well, by the time this publishes, you'll see my bolters for the Kangaroos. There's a couple of names there who are very much in there, but up for discussion, so that should be a bit of fun. I've also got an apology to Canberra fans coming.
Thank you.
Unofficial. I haven't got it ticked off yet. Scott, if you're watching, expect a DM, but I feel that's coming. And a few other things too. You know, a lot of players are on the move. You know, Cronulla have always got something going on, depending how they go this weekend. So definitely keep an eye out, but it's going to be a good run as we head into the finals here on Zero Tackle.